Hello everyone, and welcome to Explosive Hits Hexbug Battlebots. It's the last episode of the season, so you know what that means. After just 7 fights, we will declare a champion for Explosive Hits Season 4.
I hope everyone is excited as I am to see who this champion's going to be.
Well, I know I am. Let's start by looking at our top 8 bracket.
Here it is, the best 8 bots of this season. Each one of them will have to win 3 fights in a row today if they want to be crowned champion.
Who's it going to be? Will Duck continue their reign of terror and collect a Thor giant nut? Will Monstrosity finally live up to the expectations of their number 1 seed? Will Bronco, last year's runner-up, win one more fight to get its first championship title? Will Bite Force show that it has what it takes to win it all again? Will Warhead Spinner keep bringing them good luck and carry them to the final? Will Superscoop keep throwing its opponents out of the arena until there's none left? Will Hypershock prove that everything is all about speed? Or will Blue Rotato win the grand prize and show the world that horizontal spinners still have a place in this competition? All of these questions will be answered today. Up first, we're going to look at the top right part of the bracket with our 2nd and 7th seeds. The first bot in Duck's way to a Thor giant nut is Hypershock.
I think Duck is going to have a hard time in this fight. It's very difficult for anyone to keep up with Hypershock's speed, not to mention the fact that Duck has never fought a bot that moves this quickly before.
I agree, Hypershock's speed and weapon power could be a problem, but Duck usually finds a way to win almost every fight, so I wouldn't count them out. Let's head to the box to see how the reigning champion does in its first fight of the day. Let the first quarterfinal begin. Hypershock already pushing Duck into the screws. Is that low wedge in the front of Hypershock going to be problematic for Duck? Duck's trying to get underneath. Oh, Duck's already underneath. Oh, he's lifting up Hypershock, got him in the screws.
Hypershock appears to be stuck in the screws.
Oh no, has Duck done it? Is this going to be the end of Hypershock? They're already stuck. 10, 9, oh, well, what's this? Duck has freed them. How are they going to regret that later? Here's Hypershock over by the edge of the arena. Does Duck have what it takes to throw them out? They almost did, but here's Hypershock following back. Alright, 45 seconds into this fight, Duck seems to be ahead. But anything could happen. Duck's being pulverized in the corner. They're trying to get out. But Hypershock does not want to let them out. Is Duck going to regret freeing Hypershock from the screws?
That was quite a bit of control for Hypershock.
Especially against Duck. Oh, but here's Duck. Oh, Hypershock evaded it. Oh, look at that. The Hypershock drives right off. I don't know if Duck is used to seeing their opponents being able to evade all their attacks. Duck can't really evade Hypershock's attacks. And they're kind of slow. They have their beak really low to the ground to get under Hypershock's wedge.
Hypershock needs to remember to stay out of those corners.
Yeah, it seems like Duck just can't close into them. But Hypershock can close into Duck. Alright, 1 minute left, just about. Hypershock seems to be dominating the second half of this fight. Duck is slow. That's not good for them. Duck can't seem to do what he wants. Is this going to be the end of Duck in this tournament? Who knows what could happen? 50 seconds left. I'm surprised to see Hypershock dominating the champion like this. Oh, we have our first bit of damage, and it's from Duck. They've lost that top piece.
Not much time left.
Yeah. Duck kind of just stumbling around, not sure what to do. Hypershock pinning Duck again, and they can probably hold this. Well, this is one of the closest fights we've seen as we start our last episode. episode of the season. Driver 2, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Duck's winning streak is about to come to an end?
Yeah, when Duck fights, they're almost always the one in control, and if they're not, they find some creative way to win. But in this fight, neither of those things happened.
Well, actually, Duck did find a creative way to win. The first thing they did was put Hypershock in the screws with no way out. But Duck's overconfidence got the best of them. They thought if they could get Hypershock stuck in just 15 seconds, surely they could do it again, right? They found out the hard way that wasn't true.
It was all part of Hypershock's plan to drive badly, make Duck free them, and then take control of the fight. It's time to head to the box for the decision, and the result might surprise us. The results from the judges are in. The winner by unanimous decision is Hypershock.
Part of me is surprised, and part of me is not. Hypershock has had a really good season, but who would have thought they would take down the mighty Duck?
I'm sure Duck is now looking back and thinking of what they could have accomplished. Alright, Duck's reign of terror is officially over. We are going to get a different champion this year. And as of now, I think the most likely competitor for that is Monstrosity. We're going to watch their fight against Warhead next. This is Warhead's first time being in a quarterfinal. Can they stand up to Monstrosity and give us another upset? Let's head to the box to find out. Let the bot battle begin. Alright, let's see these weapons go at it. Alright, we got some side pieces missing. And the wedge.
A lot of damage early in this fight.
Warhead not giving up. He's getting all up in Monstrosity's face. Oh, well, there goes the spin of Warhead. This is going to be a knockout because he's also flipped over. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a knockout. Well, 48 seconds and it's over. That's how it goes with Monstrosity. Monstrosity can now add decapitating Warhead to its long list of accomplishments.
They also ripped the whole weapon assembly off. They didn't just decapitate Warhead, they ripped his neck off too.
Warhead didn't stand much of a chance in this fight. It was only a matter of time before Monstrosity caught an edge with their spinner. At least Warhead did all they could and went out with a bang. This marks the end of Warhead's season. It was their best one yet. They ended last year with an all-time record of 1-6, but this year they end at 5-8.
And Monstrosity moves into the semifinal, where they await the winner of Blue Rotato versus Bite Force.
A rematch with Monstrosity is not exactly a big incentive for either of these bots, but this fight is also a rematch, so Blue Rotato is going to try to prove their first fight wasn't a fluke, and Bite Force is going to get a second chance to stand up to that big spinner. They've got a brand new anti-horizontal wedge ready to go, and they can't wait to test it out. Let the bot battle begin. Rotato goes right for the screw. Trying to do damage. Well, we got some. How's that wedge on Bite Force gonna hold up? I think part of it's coming loose.
There's no question that Bite Force has the low ground.
Yeah. Oh, the wedge is walking. Bite Force has a nice pin on Blue Rotato. Oh, are they just gonna carry them along the box? Alright, let's remember, Blue Rotato won this fight last time by a split decision. I think their key to this victory here is going to be removing the wedge on Bite Force. We see some damage to it. Well, Bite Force failed to do damage with the pulverizer there. In fact, the only damage so far is partial damage to Bite Force's wedge.
Blue Rotato lost a piece.
Ah, yeah, you're right. I didn't see that. They lost the one on the front.
Actually, they lost two pieces because one flew out of the arena.
Look at that. Blue Rotato just goes right over Bite Force's wedge. Most of the time, though, Bite Force can't really do anything about it. There's another good hit. Rotato starting to make a comeback here. There's some more control from Bite Force. I don't see any way Blue Rotato is going to be the one controlling their opponent here. Look at that. Bite Force's leg is staying on the box. Uh-oh. It's really working this time. This is funny. The last time they fought, Bite Force's leg got ripped off. Right from the start. Now Blue Rotato is struggling to do much of anything to them. Here's another good pin. Bite Force has been all over Blue Rotato in this fight. Can they get the top piece off? Can Blue Rotato do any more damage? Bite Force, the wedge got bent and nothing has come off the box.
Blue Rotato definitely lacking in the control department.
Yeah. Uh-oh. They tried to get a shot with the pulverizer, but it didn't do anything. Maybe getting them a little more aggression on the scorecard. Alright, this is not the Blue Rotato we know. This night has been full of surprises so far. Here's Bite Force with another pin. Blue Rotato escapes, trying to do something here. They can barely move. Are they having control issues? And here's Bite Force just trying to pin them to end the fight in control. And now this fight's gonna go with the judges. Now that's how you make an anti-horizontal wedge. Take note, Black Devil.
I'm very surprised that Bite Force's wedge never fell off. It was falling off on one side, but Blue Rotato wasn't able to loosen that other side.
That wedge might have led Bite Force to victory in this fight. It was durable, so Blue Rotato couldn't score any damage points, and when Blue Rotato tried attacking the right side, they were sent in the air.
Blue Rotato may have landed a lot of hits, but they seemed out of control for most of this fight. And if you don't have control against Bite Force, do you have any chance of winning at all?
I know where we can find the answer. In the box. The results from the judges are in. The winner by unanimous decision is Bite Force.
Bite Force does it again. They are now in the semifinal where Monstrosity will be waiting for them.
Speaking of waiting, it's time to see a rematch I've been waiting for a while. Superscoop vs. Bronco from episode 4 ended in the most ridiculous way possible, and I know Superscoop wants a second chance. I think they have what it takes to win a judge's decision as long as they can survive Bronco's flipper for 3 minutes again.
This will be our last flipper versus flipper fight of the season, so let's head to the flippin' box.
Let the bot battle begin. And we already have flippers triggered in the first 5 seconds. Alright, let's see who's
No
going to
damage yet, though. Oh, I spoke too soon.
What's really going to matter in terms of damage is those front wedges on Bronco. That's going to make it, if Bronco loses those, it's going to be a lot easier for Superscoop to get around to the side. Ooh, getting close. Oh, there's one. Superscoop trying to land some flips. Bronco thinks it can win the control game with its back wedge. Oh, that was close. Superscoop trying to end Bronco right here, right now. Uh-oh. Can Bronco self-right? Bronco cannot self-right if they have that back piece on. Unless it falls off. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is a knockout on Bronco. Superscoop came, he saw, and he flipped. And he won by knockout over Bronco and advanced into the semifinal. Are you flipping kidding me? That's what I have to say about this fight.
Well, I found the result to be quite believable.
Like I said earlier, Bronco's ground-scraping wedges were pretty important. Once they lost them, it was easy for Superscoop to get around the flipper in the front and flip Bronco from the side.
And I guess Superscoop was watching Duck's fight from earlier, because once Bronco was upside down, they left them alone to die like a turtle in the sun. Superscoop gets another dominant win and takes the last semifinal spot. This might have been Bronco's worst year yet. They've never lost this early in the tournament before. They did pick up 4 wins this season though.
We can forget about Warhead, Duck, Blue Rotato, and Bronco for now. It is now down to the final 4. Only 3 fights remain in the season. Our first semifinal matchup is between a bot who has the number 1 seed and a bot who has one giant nut to its name. I would not want to be Bite Force right now. That spinner on Monstrosity is the scariest thing I've seen all season.
Well, Monstrosity may seem threatening, but they're not unstoppable. We've seen their weapon stop working before, and if that happens here, it's highly unlikely they'll be able to out-control Bite Force.
Bite Force will need to survive long enough for that to happen, and they know that too, which is why they decided to keep their anti-horizontal wedge on for this fight. It's durable and low to the ground, so it should work well against Monstrosity. Will it work well enough? Let's head to the box to find out. Let the bot battle begin. Well, so much for every piece Bite Force had. But they were pushing back. What can they do to Monstrosity?
Well, they did take one of its wedges off. Of course, I don't even know if you could call it a wedge. What would you call that front armor?
Front armor, of course. Okay, now there's no more hedges on Bite Force for Monstrosity to catch. And Bite Force is winning control. What else can Monstrosity do? They're trying to push back. Oh, they did something there, but can they consistently do it? Is Monstrosity spinner knocking them back? And is that part of the problem here?
So Bite Force is winning control.
Yeah, looks like it. Control of his damage and... well, that's interesting.
That was an awesome hit.
But now what's Bite Force gonna do? They're taking more hits. Monstrosity's weapon is shut off. Monstrosity looking to turn the tide on the control. That's kind of smart. They're getting control points now. They got a nice pin on Bite Force. And now... oh no, is Monstrosity... have they have a change of heart? Well, the weapon still works. Bite Force, are they stuck? Oh, look at that. Monstrosity's belt got slipped. They don't have the same weapon power they had. Don't know what caused that. But now, they do have the control advantage. We've seen in Monstrosity's previous fights that they do know how to control. Bite Force, I don't know if they're trying to self-right or what. Monstrosity being all over them. Oh, we got a hit. Monstrosity back on the attack. But is that going to be to their disadvantage?
Bite Force back the right way.
Let's see if they can get another pin on Monstrosity. I think Monstrosity is faster now that the weapon isn't spinning as fast. I mean, they drive faster. Here's Monstrosity getting to the back. Oh, Bite Force, no! Bite Force is not the one with the pin. Monstrosity is escaping and landing more hits. Monstrosity has Bite Force in the corner. They're going nose to nose here. And that's how this fight's gonna end. It's gonna be an interesting decision, that's for sure. If you asked me who I thought was winning that fight, I'd probably change my mind 5 times while watching it. Bite Force thought their big wedge would help them, but they weren't expecting Monstrosity to rip the entire thing off on the very first hit.
Yeah, that really was an insane hit. Bite Force and all of its pieces were sent flying with a single tap of Monstrosity's spinner. But this actually helped Bite Force. With nothing to grab onto, Monstrosity's spinner was ineffective against Bite Force, and Bite Force could push them around with ease.
At least until they got flipped. There's not a lot Bite Force could do when they're upside down. It was looking like an easy ride to victory for Monstrosity until their weapon belt came loose.
Even after this happened, Monstrosity still had the advantage. They could deliver small hits to Bite Force to show aggression and didn't have to worry about being pushed around. They were even able to flip Bite Force again.
Was Bite Force able to turn the fight around now that they were facing the right way? No. With less power going to their weapon, Monstrosity had more control over their wheels. This fight had everything, and now it's time to see who did more to impress the judges. The results from the judges are in. The winner by unanimous decision is Monstrosity. That was one of the best Hexbug Battlebots fights I've ever seen, and Monstrosity came out on top and became our first finalist.
Since Bite Force is out of the competition, we are going to get a brand new explosive hits champion. It could be Monstrosity, Hypershock, or Superscoop. And right now, we're going to figure out which of those last two is going to make it to the final.
These two fought in Season 2, and Superscoop won, but that was back when Hypershock had their old design. Their new design is faster, more powerful, and it looks way cooler too. Will they be fast enough to stay away from the front of Superscoop, or will Hypershock be another bot that falls victim to Superscoop's deadly flipper? We are about to find out. Let the bot battle begin. Superscoop dodges the box rush and has Hypershock over by the edge. I think this is how Hypershock's last fight started. Man, Hypershock must like almost losing fights right from the beginning.
Damage already.
Superscoop's gotta lower that flipper and get it in position. They have to do it fast enough.
Self-inflicted damage.
Yeah, that is of course valued less than damage inflicted by an opponent on the scorecard. Superscoop trying to, they did it. They flipped Hypershock over. But now Hypershock's right side up again, and now Superscoop's flipping them. Oh, that wedge. Can Superscoop remove that wedge on Hypershock? Hypershock with a pin here. Can they remove Superscoop's thread? Superscoop knows if they don't spin the threads, they have a less chance of falling off. 1 minute into the semi-final matchup. Hypershock starting to get the low ground more often. Superscoop missed a flip there. Oh, they escaped. Oh, Hypershock on their side again. Hypershock has been put on their side a lot. They're trying to drive a Superscoop's flipper so they can get flipped back over. Still trying to land hits with a spinner. Superscoop. Seems like they don't want to flip Hypershock over. Oh. Superscoop. I'm not sure what they were trying to do there, but it didn't have much of an effect on Hypershock. Superscoop just out of reach of that pulverizer. Uh-oh. Hypershock, get away from that corner. That's a dangerous spot. Hypershock's immune to being thrown out of the arena.
Hypershock pulverized themselves a little bit right there.
But they are not immune to being pinned. Well, it's been a close fight. Man, I do not envy the judges for this one. Listen, all I'm saying is, how many times does Hypershock flip Superscoop? That's something to think about. Superscoop chasing him down. Hypershock might be trying to find a way to self-light. Well, this is a pin. Superscoop can do this for 10 seconds before they have to let Hypershock go. Superscoop just raising them up in the air, showing off their control. Hypershock, this is not a good way to end the fight. Struggling in the screws with Superscoop pushing them around. Well, that's how this fight ends.
Is it a tradition or something to have really close fights at the end of the season? Because I don't even know what to start talking about for this one.
Well, the start of this fight was almost a disaster for Hypershock. Superscoop nearly threw them out of the arena. For some reason, this keeps happening. I don't know if it's something Superscoop is good at or if Hypershock is trying to get the record for fastest knockout, but anyway, the rest of the fight played out similarly. Superscoop found many opportunities to flip their opponent. Hypershock fired back a few times, but they didn't do a whole lot. Hypershock spent a lot of this fight upside down.
Based on that, it might seem like Superscoop is the winner, but one thing to keep your eye on is damage. Hypershock did some and took none, which makes you ask the question, how much did Superscoop really do to Hypershock? They had decent control of their opponent, but that's all they did. The damage category might be enough to sway the decision in Hypershock's favor.
But was Hypershock's damage all that meaningful? Losing those side pieces didn't seem to have much of an effect on Superscoop.
That is true, but we'll just have to see what the judges think about that.
The results from the judges are in. We have a split decision. Judge 2 scored the battle for Hypershock. Judge 4 scored the battle for Superscoop. Judge 1 scored the battle for the winner, Hypershock. Oh boy, a controversial judge's decision right before the final. I wonder what the viewers are going to think. I usually don't do this, but I'm actually going to show the judges' scorecards so we can see how Hypershock won this fight. Superscoop won aggression and control by 2-1. Everyone agreed on that. What made the difference was the damage category. 4-1 gives Hypershock the victory, and 3-2 gives it to Superscoop.
There are two ways you could look at this. On one hand, Superscoop was hardly affected by the loss of their side pieces, so Hypershock should only get a small majority of the points. On the other hand, Superscoop did no damage. Does it feel right to give a bot 2 points if they did no damage and lost 2 of their own pieces?
Let us know in the live chat or the comments section, and maybe we'll slightly change the judging criteria for next season.
As unconvincing as that victory may have been, Hypershock has earned a spot in the next round.
Yes, and now it's time to talk about the last fight of Explosive Hits Season 4, Monstrosity vs. Hypershock. This is going to be a good one. Monstrosity's devastating weapon has carried them to victory 6 times this season. What can Hypershock do to stop them?
Hypershock's big wedge gives them the lower ground clearance, so they should have no trouble getting under Monstrosity. If these two bots collide at the right angle, Monstrosity might even flip over.
Monstrosity is a fast bot, but Hypershock is even faster, and that might make it hard for Monstrosity to avoid getting hit at that angle. But even though Monstrosity isn't as fast, that might be a good thing. Sometimes Hypershock has too much speed, and they do things like run into walls and damage themselves. We usually don't see Monstrosity do that.
I think Monstrosity's goal in this fight will be to rip off Hypershock's wedge. If the ground game is equalized, Monstrosity should have the advantage.
Before we head to the box, I'm going to remind you of your prediction from episode 1. You said that Monstrosity will take the whole thing if they can keep their bot together for the whole season. With that second part, I'm assuming you are referencing the fact that Monstrosity started having battery power issues in its last fight of Season 3. This season, it looks like Monstrosity has kept their bot together so far. I guess we won't know how they do in their last fight until we see it, but assuming they still work properly, do you still stand by your prediction?
Yes, I stand by my prediction. I think the more powerful weapon will prevail over the lower wedge.
Let's see if you're right. It's time for the championship. Monstrosity vs. Hypershock. Let's get right to it. Let the explosive hits final begin. Well, there goes half of the screws. Force damage, and it isn't even to Hypershock. Uh-oh. Monstrosity trying to get that side piece. The top armor. What is going on with Hypershock? They're stuck in the corner. Probably missing some pieces, but not that all-important wedge. Monstrosity almost got stuck on its own piece. And Hypershock flipped Monstrosity over using its own energy against them. And already 30 seconds into this fight, Monstrosity trying to rip the wedge off. Can they do it? is a lot more damage than we usually see Hypershock taking.
Hypershock's got to stay out of those corners.
Yeah, but can they? They're right back in it. There goes the wedge. But they're firing back. Alright, Monstrosity off to a good start in the first minute of the fight. Hypershock pushing back. Monstrosity long in the White Force fight. How to avoid a pin. Oh, that was interesting. How these bots doing on battling. Now either of them slowing down. What an entertaining final this has been. We're halfway through. Monstrosity seems to be in the lead. They've done most of the damage. The Hypershock pushing back. There was a big hit.
That was a big flip.
Yeah, Hypershock flipped around in the air there. Uh-oh, can they do something to Monstrosity's belt? What's gonna happen here? You can see Monstrosity's weapon is not on. Hypershock breaks free. Monstrosity is high settled on Hypershock's piece. This is gonna be the end. Hypershock might be the new champion if they can't get free. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is a knockout on Monstrosity. This fight is over. Hypershock is your exclusive Hits Hexbug Battlebots Season 4 champion. They took down Monstrosity. This is a new design. They didn't even compete last year. They went from round 1 to the finals and they won. Everyone congratulate Hypershock. Yeah! This season is over. And what a way to end it. That was an amazing fight. Two fast bots with incredibly powerful weapons zooming around the arena, throwing each other around, never giving up. Monstrosity took the lead at the beginning of this fight. They did some early damage to Hypershock and the arena, and put Hypershock in the corner many times.
I was worried Monstrosity would flip over, but they kept themselves under control, and I really didn't have to worry about that after Hypershock lost their wedge.
Hypershock wasn't sure what to do at that point. They tried pushing Monstrosity, but that ended badly for them. It was even easier for Monstrosity to get under them now that they were upside down. But then Hypershock got stuck on top of Monstrosity, and Monstrosity was so focused on getting unstuck and not losing their weapon belt that they didn't watch where they were driving and got stuck on Hypershock's discarded top armor.
Both of Monstrosity's wheels were off the ground. Hypershock had no intention of freeing them and decided to mock them while the countdown was going. It was a hard-fought battle, but after 2 minutes and 19 seconds, Hypershock emerged as our new champion.
There you have it. Hypershock wins. They end their season at 7-1. Monstrosity's the runner-up. They end the season at 6-1. This has been one of the most interesting 6 months of my life. This season was filled with surprising moments, great fights, memorable hits, and probably everyone's favorite, lots of destruction. And I enjoyed every second of it. Well, Driver 2, is there anything else you'd like to say before we end this episode?
It was definitely an exciting season. I think my most memorable hit of the season is when Monstrosity knocked Whiplash out of the arena.
Yeah, we really started the season with one of the most entertaining knockouts possible. That was like 23 seconds. There were a lot of good fights this season. Some of the ones that come to my mind are Warhead versus Jackpot, Hammerhead versus Witch Doctor, and Superscoop versus Hammerhead from the round of 16. There were a lot of good ones. Terabyte versus Hurricane. That was another one. This is the first season that Duck suffered 2 losses in the same season. They lost to Monstrosity and then lost to Hypershock in this championship tournament.
We were expecting Monstrosity to fight Duck again in the tournament, but then Hypershock came out of nowhere and defeated Duck.
Well, since Duck never got a second chance to fight Monstrosity, this means that Duck still has never lost a rematch. Remember the first 2 bots that beat Duck, White Force and Whiplash, Duck beat both of them the second time it fought both of them. Duck is good at learning from its mistakes.
It's interesting how we had so many split decisions at the beginning of the season, and then a short period with no split decisions. And the last decision was split and it was the closest one of them all.
I really hope that doesn't cause too much controversy in the comment section, but I mean, it'll be fine. These episodes don't get a ton of comments anyway. This season was the first season with out of the arenas. There were 3: Monstrosity versus Whiplash, Superscoop versus Whiplash, and Vertigo versus Rusty. If I were Whiplash, I don't even know if I'd want to come back next year after being thrown out of the arena twice in one season.
Or they need to figure out an anti-out of the arena design.
That's just called driving better. Tombstone was an interesting bot to watch this season. They brought out this huge, powerful weapon for the first fight. The inside of the bot practically caught on fire. And then they had to get revived mid-season. And even then they ended up 1-2 and didn't make the tournament. This was supposed to be their year of redemption. For 2 years in a row, they've missed out on the tournament. Is Tombstone really all that good?
Sounds like maybe they need a redesign.
But what can they do? They already tried making their weapon powerful. Maybe they're just unlucky. 2 years in a row. That's what it is. I was also really impressed with Bite Force this season. It's like they somehow got even better. We were talking about how there's 7 pieces with the new scoring system. The 7 pieces wouldn't carry them to victory in every fight. I don't know why. I felt like Bite Force's control game was way better this season. There were a lot of fights. I think in all of Bite Force's fights, it was more common to find them winning by controlling their opponent than winning by doing damage. Even in fights they didn't win, like against Monstrosity and the main event against Blue Rotato, they still had moments of control. Bite Force is probably the most well-controlled bot in the entire competition.
And they have really low ground clearance.
Yeah, they're like the perfect design for a bot, but somehow not perfect.
Now imagine Monstrosity with that much ground game.
Don't give him any ideas. I think Monstrosity's going to have to learn that. Having a powerful weapon can't just carry you to victory in every fight. But it almost did. If they would have spent a minute more not avoiding Hypershock's top piece for 1 more minute, a powerful weapon would have carried them to victory all the way. I mean, if they had a wedge, that's not really going to help. That's not really going to prevent them from going on top of a piece.
The ultimate bot would probably be Monstrosity's weapon, Hypershock's speed, and Bite Force's ground game.
Well, 1 pound is about 450 grams. The weight limit for these bots is 150 grams, although most of them probably weigh a lot less. So, all we need to do is just enter those 3 bots in an ant weight competition. And then we win every time.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure about that.
Oh, another thing to talk about, the instant knockout rule. Do you think the instant knockout rule should still apply to treads? Because remember that? In Superscoop versus Bronco, 4 seconds left. Superscoop loses both treads. Normally there wouldn't be enough time for a regular count out, but there's time for an instant knockout. Do you think it should still apply to treads, or should it only apply to things like losing a battery? In fact, should it even apply to losing a battery? What about this? If you have a fight and then a bot loses its batteries with less than 10 seconds left, do you think then it should get an instant knockout? And what about being thrown out of the arena? If a bot gets thrown out of the arena with less than 10 seconds, should that be an instant knockout?
The instant knockout rule makes sense.
I feel like, yeah. I mean, it's just we know they're not getting back. So why waste time with a countdown? I mean, the point of the countdown is kind of oh, you have 10 seconds to start moving again, but if you're out of the arena or you're missing a battery, we know you're not going to start moving in, so why waste the time?
But it's an interesting counterpoint. If there's less than 10 seconds left in the match, they couldn't have been counted out anyways.
Yeah. So what about this? Should the instant knockout rule just not apply in the last 10 seconds? Even then, that kind of defeats the purpose of it. If you're not going to have it apply when it matters most, why have it at all?
I don't know. Comment down below with your opinion.
Yeah. Well, next season's going to be even more interesting. I'm sure of that. I think we've talked about enough. As of now, all I have to say is thank you for watching Explosive Hits Hexbug Battlebots. I hope you enjoyed this season. I know I did. I know Driver 2 did too. To everyone watching this, have a good rest of your year. I'll see you next season.